Hey Bat fans, Luke here with another video, and today we're going to take a look at Batman issue number 40. But before I go any further, you'll notice on my channel lately that I've been kind of focused primarily on, the Bat trades, especially the ones that not too many people talk about. But I'm going to go ahead and step outside my niche for a little bit, and maybe you'll kind of keep it on regular. We'll see. Time and resources kind of come into it too, but really right now, I have a couple of really good YouTube friends I actually consider friends in the YouTube community, where that might sound redundant, but one in particular who's probably my favorite YouTuber of everybody, that at least I currently follow is Bat Josh. And right now Bat Josh is kind of taking a hiatus, and we don't know how long. It could be a week, it could be a couple months, but knowing Josh and his itch to talk Batman, you know it's going to be, he'll come back sooner rather than later. But what he does, he goes really in depth in Bat books and Bat stories and whatnot, and he does it like on a routine basis, on a weekly basis, and his videos go really far in depth. And with right now him taking a hiatus, there's really no one kind of talking the Batman on the regular anyway. So I kind of figured while he's on his little hiatus, I'll kind of step up a little bit, get back into the groove maybe for a little bit. We'll see how long, we'll see how it goes, and kind of talking some of the Batman current stuff. To be honest, probably just stick with Batman and maybe Detective. And if anything, I'll just kind of give general thoughts on other books that are out there, Red Hood and White Knight and whoever, whatever. But primarily, just stick to Batman Detective and kind of provide that service right now. That, just to be honest, it's just there's a vacancy because Bat Josh is taking his little hiatus, and when he comes back again, obviously, I'll defer to the Bat freaking doctorate that he is, because he's far more intelligent and maybe kind of more able to go in depth and analyze some of the stuff that goes on in the Batman stories than I do. But be that, here it is, whatever. Right now might not be the Batman you deserve, but you got the Batman you got. Lack of better terms. But anyway, so Batman 40. To be honest, I actually tried to do a video 2 weeks ago where I was talking about Batman number 39, but for some reason it just wouldn't translate into transferring over to YouTube, so I just kind of said screw it. I just got really pissed off. But some of those feelings do kind of carry over into Batman number 40. And do I got a little nick on that? I think I do. God bless America. Anyway, right now, the books I get my stuff from, this kind of comic book service, I'm kind of really frustrated with right now. First off, this is the main cover, and I don't have the variant because for some reason, even though I paid for it, this kind of comic book service didn't send it this week. So I've been kind of emailing them saying, hey, what the F? And that's a side tangent. Just right now, it's a great service, but man, when they screw up sometimes, they royally screw up. So, but anyway, Batman 39, I had some thoughts into it, and a lot of it kind of chimed into, a lot of the Batman readers were really freaking out at how Batman 39 ended. And that is sort of what we see in the beginning scene with Batman, or Bruce, and Wonder Woman, who were out in this outer realm that was kind of under the guard of the Gentleman, where time really moves still. And while it might be like an hour in our time, in this realm, an hour turns out to be like a decade or something like that. So in this reality, they're like 40 years together in that current time. And it appears that maybe that, Batman and Wonder Woman were going to hook up a little bit. And that's when a lot of people just started freaking out and caused, Tom King to kind of provide some feedback on Facebook or Twitter, which, good on him. He did it in a classy way. He didn't really slander anyone. He's kind of like, I got it. I got your feedback. I appreciate it. I'll try to get better, and so forth and so on. And to be honest, I wasn't really going that far off the end of it, because the people, I think, or a lot of people were kind of going up in arms about it. They thought this was going to just ruin the Batman, Catwoman thing. And to be honest, if that thing is going to wreck, I doubt it's just going to be an off-the-wall issue in something like we saw in a cliffhanger, kind of like that. I think if the Batman Catwoman thing is going to crumble, it's going to be something that's going to happen over time. A lot of factors are going to play into it. I don't think an out-of-realm personal connection with Wonder Woman, while I could see the temptation, I just don't see Tom King stooping to that. I think this would be something that maybe particularly, this might be if the Batman Catwoman thing doesn't go down, this might be kind of like one of the preludes to some of the things that might lead to it, but I think it's going to be something that's going to be developed over time. I don't think it's going to be just a crash and burn in one issue thing. So when we wrapped up 39, I kind of didn't really go into much of a panic like a lot of people were. That said, I could kind of see somewhat of the perception that it was giving. But I remember last issue, while I thought the story was interesting, I think what kind of held it back a little bit was the art. And maybe not the art, it was more maybe the colors. And I will say this, I'll say it now, because I said it last week before my video just kind of crashed during the upload. I like Joelle Jones. I think her art, what we saw earlier in Batman, was good, and I loved her art, what I seen in Lady Killer. And Jordie Bellaire is a phenomenal artist, one of the best. Between her and FCO Placencia, I don't know who would I go for, but I will say Jordie Bellaire is renowned, and rightfully so. Her book right now, The Redlands, is just phenomenal. And while I think she does do the color in there too. But what I had the issue with issue number 39, I thought the color palette really saturated a lot of Joelle Jones's art, and I think some of the inks, what I think Joelle Jones also did, was a little too saturated. So I think the inking and the coloring really kind of downplayed the art a little bit. And I will say in Batman number 40, I don't think it's as prominent. And I will say, I think the art in this, I love this. Again, this might be one like where you might say, well, it's saturating the art, or the inking and the coloring, and this is really dark and saturated. Well, I think that's kind of setting in the mood of the story, and that, at least to the scene, that, hey, it's at night, it's a campfire, it's in the dark, I kind of get that sensual setting behind the scene here. So I didn't really think anything of it, but I will say that is really nice art. Very simple. And for the most part, I do think the colors and inks weren't as saturated. And I'll give Joelle Jones credit in this. What I thought some of the best actually art in this issue was when Bruce and Danny were talking. It just, that face there for 1 minute, for just this one right here in particular, that panel looks very Nicola Scott-ish, and I love Nicola Scott's art. But I will say, just the facial expressions in this 2 pages right here alone were really good, and did a really good job of really accentuating the story. And I think the colors were a little bit more vibrant this time around. That said, we did have some times where I think the inks and the colors were really saturated when we especially go into the outer world, where the gentleman kind of operated. It just feels like it just really dark, the inks are really heavy, and I don't know, it's just to kind of accentuate the palette, because if you look in real time, it's not as bad, but when they go into the outer world, everything just looks really saturated for some reason, and it's just something that just kind of bugged me a little, which, by the way, I am freaking stoked for this. The Wild Hunt story part of Metal, we have Grant Morrison coming. Woo! I'm really stoked for that. But I think for the most part, I think the art and the color palette and the inks were kind of toned down a little bit in this story. In issue number 40, that's what really bothered me, I think, the most, with issue number 39. And I think that we saw an improvement in this. Again, before everyone starts hunting me down with, stakes and flames or whatnot, I like Joelle Jones, very talented artist. She's freaking awesome. And Jordie Bellaire too. I just think for that issue number 39, and some instances in here, I just think it was a little bit not up to the standard I'm used to. And again, you can't always hit home runs. Capullo does it from time to time. Daniel and Fabok, they have issues sometimes where it's just every once in a while it's just not up to the standard we're used to. And this happened for me, issue 39, Joelle Jones and Bellaire were like that, but not really, like I said, not really in issue number 40. And I will say I enjoyed issue number 40. And while I kind of said my piece about the art, I just kind of want to hit a little bit about the story and kind of like the dialogue and whatnot, because I think that's why I think the most that the focus should be on this particular issue. And I will say the story, believe it or not, I think it's relatively simple. And I can sum it up in a very short amount of time. Batman and Wonder Woman still, honoring their agreement to help out the Gentleman in the outer world. While that's going on, Catwoman and the Gentleman are going to go meet with the Gentleman's wife. And at that point, Catwoman make sure that she kind of speeds up the meeting between the Gentleman's wife and the Gentleman, so we can get Gentleman back into the outer world and bring back Bruce and Diana, and that's it. It's a relatively simple story and a relatively simple issue. But what I like about how Tom King writes his Batman, in that things are layered onto each other, which is definitely true, but he does things in a way where, again, it takes a very simple concept and makes it really execute really well. And I think where we have a difference between Snyder and King, Snyder, as we all know, if anyone has been following my channel for any amount of time, I just love Scott Snyder's work, especially on Batman. Where Snyder will do, which I can see people kind of having issues with how he writes his stories sometimes, is that he will get bogged down in the details. Things will grind to a halt, where a lot of things are explained, some of it kind of minute details that may or may not need explained, some things that need to be explained, and he takes it to the nth level. Where Tom King's stories, for what much I've read of his, which was primarily The Vision, Grayson, now Mr. Miracle, and Batman Now. I didn't get Sheriff of Babylon, which I may or may not read. Not for, I think it was bad, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And the Omega Man, I haven't read it. But what I've seen so much in Tom King sometimes, that one of the things I did read is that he will tell a story, and some things will be glossed over, and you don't feel like you're getting ripped off, but sometimes he just won't bog you into the details. They'll use the theme that he's trying to get at to kind of help tell the story. And in that case, I think that's done here, and I think it's done really well. It's a theme that really hitting on the pace, or the topic of, first off, through the lens of Bruce with his interaction with Diana, and then with the lens of Diana and her observation with the good man, or the gentleman, and the gentleman's wife back in current time, is that this thing they're getting ready to get into, this marriage thing, it's not as simple as they may think it might be initially, in that how it can really be a really impactful thing. And I don't want to get into the debate on the importance of marriage. Some people take it into a little bit more importance than others, and I'm not going to go there. But I will say I think that's something that's hitting on, is that in this issue, is that this subject of marriage between the two, and really how strong is their relationship. Because, I will say, while I doubted they were going to have a hookup moment between Bruce and Diana at the end of 39, which we found out in issue number 40, spoilers, clearly it was close, but it didn't. You do see some temptation. Bruce, keeping it in concept in time where he's at, there were, but it was equivalent to 40 years together with just him and Diana fighting off all these demons, which I forget what they actually called, the Purge, the Horde. The Horde is everlasting, so they're constantly fighting, and the only really human connection he has was him and Diana. And so imagine that for 40 straight years. You can kind of see, I'm not going to say the ability to stay true to Selena is impossible, but you can see the temptation there, because if it comes down to it, even with Diana and Bruce, they have basic needs and desires sometimes, and sometimes it's just hard to kind of stick with your convictions when you have those temptations all the time, especially taking into account the environment they're in. Now, if they're in current time, okay, it might not be as hard, but in the environment they are in, you can see how temptation can come into play. So it kind of goes back to this thing I'm trying to really, I'm doing the Scott Snyder approach here, not the Tom King, but you can kind of see how Bruce is, when he's looking at the lens with his relationship with Selena, he kind of realizes in this story that, hey, sometimes temptation is going to be very hard to stay committed to just Selena. And that might not just be just a physical relationship. That might be other things that may pop up, which you may or may not see. His commitment to Gotham, his commitment to honoring the ideals that stand behind Batman. The members of the Bat family all might come in conflict one day with Selena, because he may or may not become Selena's husband down the road, and obviously with that comes another commitment that it's kind of unique in its own way. So you can kind of see Batman go through this issue and this theme, that you can see some temptations in that. And Selena, which, with her lens, watching the Gentleman and the Gentleman's Wife, how you can see how tragedy can really impact a relationship, and how it's hard to just, sometimes maybe lose someone you might love one day, because a very well possibility, again, Batman's Batman, Batman might go away. And that might be something that might be a reality for Selena one time. Or, who knows, the things that Batman deals with, it's just not like a normal guy. But in this case, you're looking at like a normal guy in a really abnormal situation in The Gentleman, where his wife thought he was pretty much dead. But he comes back, and then it's only for just a couple hours, and then he explains what he's doing, and he's got to go back to the other world and fight off the Horde, which is, eternal and whatnot. And you can kind of see how just emotionally just a kick in the junk that has to be able, you think your husband's dead, he comes back, explains what he's doing, then he's got to leave again. Well, a lot of that stuff really wasn't fully explained in this issue, because again, this is one instance where King's not going to really stick in the details as much, but you get the point. That had to be rough. And Catwoman, again, seeing that, while at the same time, her being somewhat jealous and greedy, and the fact is like, hey, hurry up, because remember, how long will you say real quick? Well, it's been an hour or two. Well, how long is an hour or two, in the other world right now? Yeah, it's like a decade. So she's trying to keep the Gentleman honest in the fact that, hey, hurry up so we can get Bruce and Diana back, get you over there, and they're going to do flip-flop things. So, but you can kind of see how that might be an issue for Selena. And I dig that. And again, that's a basic premise. And even at the end, Batman acknowledges, he's telling Selena, hey, there was a moment there where I was tempted, but I stayed true. And kind of like how Catwoman even said, what kind of flip to it. She was saying something to the effect was like, were you bad? And he was like, no. So, and it's in a way where you can kind of see Bruce in his own way trying to say something, but it just balanced perfectly well with Selena. I want to tell you something. A woman, 37 years, Wonder Catwoman goes, were you bad? Batman goes, nope, not bad, but not good enough. Where, again, I think he's acknowledging the fact that, hey, again, temptation was there, and I almost submitted to it. But it was all not just Bruce there. This was also Wonder Woman, who's kind of recounting her commitment to, oh man, her total brain fart right now. Steve. That, hey, they got to stay true to the person or the people that they're devoted to. And she kind of sees the things that, hey, if you don't, I'm basically going to break the small ears off your cow. Which, whatever, it was kind of funny. But, luckily, I will say, for this scenario, you had an equally understanding person that understood the scenario they were in, and someone who also might have had a little bit more of their head on their right shoulders to kind of say, hey, it's probably not a good idea getting into. So her Wonder Woman's restraint maybe kind of saved the situation. I think Batman kind of acknowledges that in this issue. The only thing that really kind of made me scratch my head, and maybe I have to read issue number 39, to be honest, was that Catwoman mentions the fact that the Gentleman lied on why he had himself switch temporarily with Batman Selina, or Batman and Diana, or Wonder Woman. And I get it. I mean, he was tired, obviously, but it comes down to, hey, he just wanted to see his wife. I don't remember that being mentioned in issue number 39. Again, this is Tom King probably not dwelling in the details, and I get it. But even if the gentleman said, hey, I'm tired, or hey, I need to temporarily kind of patch things over with my wife to give her that closure he or she needs, I don't think that would be too much of an issue with Batman and Wonder Woman, being that they gave their word that, hey, if you need a break, so be it, we'll temporarily relieve you. And I don't think also that it was inferred that the gentleman would permanently stay there in current time. And really, Catwoman kind of pushing the metal. Again, I understand why she wants to get them back as fast as possible, so get Gentleman to figure out what he needs to do, say what he needs to say, so he can get back and replace him. I just don't think that was big of an issue, and Catwoman really made that a vocal point that, hey, that was a point of contention, which I just didn't see. Also, a little disappointing in the fact that, again, maybe I overlooked it, but you're reading 39, and the gentleman's wife was implied to be someone really prominent, and reading this issue, I didn't catch it. I understand that she is linked with the GCPD, but the name initially did not ring a bell. Again, maybe I'll reread it, but again, it was just implied that the gentleman's wife was someone prominent, and it just turned out to be nobody. But those were two minor gripes in the issue I thought was pretty good. Wasn't epic, no, but I think this is kind of like, I was also reading this, and you kind of take and point the part with Superman. If you remember back when we had the Return of Bruce Wayne, that part of the Grant Morrison story, and kind of go along with that, there was kind of like all these one-shots that, we had Bruce Wayne, The Road Home, where it kind of looked at like how members of the Bat family were kind of coping with Batman while he was gone, and some during his return. I kind of get this story that's kind of like sort of similar in a way, where we have, obviously Batman making this transition, but we just kind of want to see, that impact on how, actually, that verbally speaking, but how that impacts those close to Batman. And in particular, right now, while we didn't get to see that too much in the Bat family as much, we're kind of seeing him kind of like his friends. And so I just kind of just something I thought about. I was like, hey, this is kind of like revisiting that type of thing. But anyway, that's kind of off topic. But I will say Batman number 40, it was fun. Definitely not, I think, worthy of some of the harsh criticisms some people were saying online. And to be honest, I thought it was just rubbish. Especially the thing about Wonder Woman and her remark about Superman saying up and away. I think that was freaking just a little nugget of funny humor put in there between Diana and Bruce. They kind of passed the time, just kind of saying weird things. Yeah, it's funny. It's a way to break up the monotony of fighting freaking ghouls all day. Don't you think Superman saying up and away is kind of goofy? Yeah, of course it is. It's the point. I think that was one thing that just stuck out of my mind. Is like someone who I actually think is kind of intelligent doing videos, and I saw that, I was just like, that is just horseshit. I'm sorry for cussing, but I was like, no, that is clearly, you're reaching at that point. But anyway, rambled on. So anyway, Batman number 40, if I had to rank it, I'd give it a snug 3 out of 5. Definitely, again, not a epic issue, but I think one that, if you think it had some good themes, then I think it was a good story. I think the next issue we get Cal Yanning back. We get this Poison Ivy story, which I'm really much looking forward to. So, anywho, Batman 40, I give it 3 out of 5. Good, definitely not worth some of the bashing it's getting right now. And overall, the Super Friends-ish story, I think was good. And in particular, this 2-part story with Wonder Woman, okay. I think I defer more to the Superman story. It's probably being a little bit more better, but neither here nor there, still fun. So anyway, until next video, which will probably be the next issue of Detective, and we'll kind of see. Again, kind of going back to the way things used to be, and we'll see how it goes. Unfortunately, some of these might be in the car. It is what it is because of this crazy schedule. But maybe kind of stick with these current stuff. We'll see. Anyway, until next video, take care.